on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. After metaphorically lighting hair on fire in Chicago at the Black Journalist Convention, then Trump jetted off quickly. He wants to leave Chicago just about as fast as everybody else to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania for a big rally. And, he wasn't done entertaining Americans for the day, including with his rendition of the Obama's phone call with Kamala to tell her, congratulations, they're endorsing you.
Did you see when President Obama and Michelle called? Did you see? Hello? Hello? Yes. Yes. Who is this? Oh, this is Michelle and Barack. Oh. So surprised to hear. They got 4 cameras in front. Oh, I'm so surprised. It's on speakerphone. Listen, we just want to congratulate you on destroying Joe Biden. I mean, on winning the... Hey, is Joe Biden going to... Was that the phoniest phone call you've ever seen?
One of them. It's right up there with her phone call with Taraji Henson during the BET Awards. But the point that he makes about, quote, destroying Joe Biden in passing, that's something that Alex Berenson has seized on. The one job that Kamala had to do, in addition to being Borders Arena. For more on that one job, pleased to be joined by Alex Berenson, who's the author of Pandemia, How Coronavirus Hysteria Took Over Our Government, Rights, and Lives. His very popular Substack is Unreported Truths at alexberenson.substack.com. Unreported Truths is the name of his Substack. Alex, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Dan, it's great to be on with you.
So the one job she had to do and didn't do it was what?
So her role as vice president is really, I mean, theoretically, she's president of the Senate. In reality, that's a ceremonial job. In reality, the vice president just exists in case something happens to the president. And under the 25th Amendment, although the language is somewhat ambiguous, it says that she and the cabinet have the job of making a written declaration to Congress if the president is unable to serve. And unable to serve is not defined, and it's not defined when exactly she has to do this. But she clearly has a constitutional obligation in cases where the president is unable to serve to tell Congress about this, and then Congress can vote to take away the president's powers. And then if the president, believes that this is incorrect and that he should continue to serve, he then has the right to essentially to fight that declaration, and it's up to Congress within 4 days to decide. That's what the 25th Amendment says. So if Kamala Harris saw what the rest of us saw in the debate, then she should have done that at some point in the last couple of years. I mean, how can anyone dispute that? He's not even running. And by the way, I'd point this out too. In the last 24 hours, the Middle East has moved towards regional war pretty quickly, okay? I mean, personally, I believe the Israelis, I'm very glad they took out the head of Hamas. I think they had every right to do that. But there's no question that was a provocative act. Where's the President of the United States? He hasn't said a word about this. I don't even believe he's released a statement. It's like they're not even pretending anymore that he's competent to discharge the duties of his office. Well, so where is our vice president?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like at this point in time we have 2 presidents, and she's using the White House to campaign
or zero president.
Or zero.
Or zero presidents.
But she was with him every day. They had lunch, multiple times a week, and she was in on this lie that he was fine.
So Amy, this is an interesting point. You're actually not right about that. He promised when he took office they would have lunch once a week. Oh. And by the middle of 2021, she was not doing that. In fact, there were stories written in early 2022 that in the first half of 2022, first 5-6 months of 2022, she'd had lunch with him 3 times. So if her defense on this is going to be, well, I just didn't see the president that much. I wasn't really part of his inner circle. I was this was not Dick Cheney and George Bush. then I think the question is, well, if the president didn't believe and his advisors didn't believe you were competent to be anywhere near him, why should you be the president? I mean, I don't think there's good answers for this, but I think she should be asked this at every opportunity. And frankly, if I were Donald Trump, I'd be talking about this, not her race, because I think it's far more important.
Well, she also can't have it both ways. She can't, on the one hand, say I was out of the loop, and on the other hand, Joe Biden, borrowing from some of the pat phrases, is exacting and probing, and I'm proud to run with him, and he's up for the job, and we're going to do these great things in the second term. So she can't be, completely in the know and on board and excited, and then also not in the know.
That's right. And by the way, if her answer is, look, I'm loyal and I was loyal to him, and to me that would be the best answer of all the bad answers that she could give. But no one's even asking her this because, of course, the mainstream and elite media, from the New York Times and NPR on down to USA Today and everybody else, they're all in the tank. They're happy not to have to drag around this walking corpse that is Joe Biden. And so no one is asking her these questions that are completely legitimate and fair questions.
No, of course. We have somebody who humbled himself in the interest of saving democracy, and then we ushered in this generational leader that we know nothing about, who is going to also now save our democracy, taking the baton heroically from an ailing Joe Biden. That's the story.
It really is incredible how to watch history being sort of overwritten in real time. That Biden was fine. There was all this stuff about cheap fakes. Well, that all went out the window on June 27th when we all saw with our own eyes how decrepit he really was. And then there was this organized pressure campaign to get rid of him, which by the way, I think was the right thing to do. He clearly could not serve 4 more years. But then this idea, I mean, her superpower actually turns out to be that she's not really associated with anything that the Biden administration did in the last 4 years, with the exception of the border. And so, because she's sort of this empty vessel, they can promote her. She didn't go through a primary, so she didn't really have to define her positions. And she's effectively, and not really effectively, she's actually repudiating anything that she doesn't like politically. So she was against fracking. Well, now she's for fracking. And there's been a couple other, specific. She's not talking about defunding the police anymore. That's for sure. So she's essentially just a figure who's not Donald Trump and who can walk and talk, and that is good enough, possibly, to get her elected.
Well, do you think her new handlers who are rewriting how she feels on issues, do you think that they'll let her sit down and do a one-on-one interview, or kind of Joe Biden her, keep her out, and just have her do campaign events so that the media can't ask her questions?
I think she'll do some one-on-one interviews, in friendly places. Will she sit down with Fox News? Will she sit down with me or you or people who might question her hard? I don't know, but even Biden sort of gritted his teeth because they knew he had to, and got through a couple of interviews. She can do that, I don't doubt.
Something else too, since you brought up Israel and Iran and this moment that looks like it's coming between Israel and Iran and necessarily involves the West. I mean, the coverage of this, New York Times is just it's criminal coverage. That the way the headline is Iran's leaders order attacks on Israel for the killing of that Hamas leader you mentioned. Yes. But listen to just some of the phrases from this New York Times story, because it speaks to the corruption of the legacy media that we see on display at that convention in Chicago yesterday, that we see on display every day on the pages of these outlets. Quote, Israel has a long history of killing enemies abroad, including Iranian nuclear scientists and military commanders. This is because the Hamas leader was killed on Iranian soil. And the whole thing reads like Iran has exercised such restraint up until this point, but now with this provocative act of Israel's, it's unclear if they can continue to restrain themselves, the Iranians. Iran made its biggest and most overt attack in Israel in decades of hostility, launching hundreds of missiles and drones in retaliation for an Israeli strike on its embassy compound that killed several Iranian military commanders in Damascus. But even that show of force was telegraphed well in advance, Nearly all the weapons were shot down by Israel and its allies, and little damage was done. You see, Alex, Israel is the warmonger in the region, and Bibi obviously is committing genocide, while Iran is the restrained, responsible power.
Right. When 2 days ago, before this guy got killed in the Iranian parliament, they were literally chanting "Death to Israel" and "Death to America." Not a joke, not an exaggeration. That's what they were chanting. And by the way, this idea that this guy, that Hanaya, the guy the Israelis assassinated, was a negotiator. No, he was as happy with the attacks on October 7th as everybody else. Okay, he wanted to negotiate because he wanted to time for Hamas to do this again. Okay, his goal was the destruction of Israel. He was always upfront about that, and so this idea that, like, I mean, I'm not joking. He was sort of Hess, and someone else in Hamas is Goring, right? Like, these are all Nazis who just want to destroy people, and the idea that the Israelis don't have the right to kill him. I mean, when it is a bizarre way to look at self-defense.
Well, in the New York Times, too, just eliminating the predicate for all of this, which is October 7th. I mean, that's just ignored completely. I mean, it really does speak to, you don't want to engage in the hyperbolic rhetoric of the left all the time, but it really does speak to an anti-Americanism, in addition to an anti-Semitism that is just well-founded, really strong presence in the D.C. press corps.
Yes, I mean, I think you didn't quite phrase it this way, but it's almost so deep and embedded they don't even know they're doing it. So it's like the fact that again that the Iranian parliament was shouting "Death to Israel" doesn't play any role in their calculations of reporting this. It's just like, oh, this guy got, this one nice Hamas leader got killed on Iranian soil. How could the Israelis have done this? I mean, it's bizarre. And so, and again, you see it. I mean, to me, to go back to Biden, and Kamala, what we were talking about before, this idea that you see them sort of rewriting and remaking their positions in real time is. I mean, we saw it during COVID. We saw the vaccines fail and then redefine failure and redefine what they'd said about the vaccines. But to see them do it almost on a daily basis with her and with Biden, and for them to pretend, it's stunning to me. And my Substack is called Unreported Truths, obviously, but it's almost like all I'm doing is like just pointing out what people said 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, right. No, exactly. Well, I mean, the juxtaposition of this. So, as you said, no statement on Islamist terrorism that's underwritten by Iran after this saber rattling that's going on. And also, we have the announcement that the Department of Defense has reached a plea deal with 3 Islamist terrorists who were the masterminds, one of them, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, one of the masterminds of 9/11, along with 2 others, to take the death penalty off the table.
Unbelievable.
Yes, I don't know how at least Khalid Sheikh Mohammed is not going to be put to death for this. I mean, he was the architect. I mean, he was the operations officer, let's say, and Bin Laden was the architect. How I don't care what they. I don't understand it at all. You're totally right. It is yet another bizarre decision by the Biden administration. It yet again shows weakness. I mean, the juxtaposition with Israel, right? Israel reaches out and kills its enemy on foreign soil, proves that it has the ability to do this. We have a guy in our custody, and we're not even going to try him. And presumably execute him.
Right.
Right. You're right. It's not only it's like there's no need for path of least resistance on this. Oh, the expense of a trial or whatever. Normally, you would say in the sort of ordinary business of a prosecutor's office, that all the information that would come out in part of this trial. I mean, that's the only rationale is there's something that they don't want to come out in this trial.
Right. That's or they're just so. they're so anti-death penalty that even in this case they can't get past their own ideology. Who knows what it is, but it is bizarre. You are totally correct.
And Alex, I wanted you to know that today, August 1st, 2024, got this email that the Chicago Department of Public Health and Chicago Public Schools, they're ending the provisions for additional sick days designated for COVID-19. Today,
It only took
4
3
years,
huh?
4 years and 4 months later. So traditional sick days can be utilized now for respiratory illness, including COVID-19.
Alex, you may remember this is the birthplace of leading from behind. And we elevated a guy to the White House who believes in that philosophy.
Well, I will say, again, there's so many things you can do. You can properly or legitimately attack this administration on. Why Donald Trump decided to go after Kamala Harris's race, I don't know, and I don't think it's a good strategy. For somebody like me who's not really in any way a diehard Trump person. Maybe it plays to his base, but it doesn't play to those of us who are closer to the middle.
All right. Well, just stay a lukewarm Trump person.
Please.
Alex,
and look into it. She's not black. Just look into it. No, I'm not.
I will not. I promise you that.
Well, all right. Well, her dad's Hindu and Irish. Okay.
All right. We'll save that for. We'll do an Amy Alex Substack where you guys can debate that. Alex Berenson, author of Pandemia: How Coronavirus Hysteria Took Over Our Government, Rights, and Lives. That's the book. The Substack, Unreported Truths. AlexBerenson.substack.com. Alex, thank you as always.
Dan and Amy, thanks, guys.
Thank you. And he joined us. Look it up. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper, hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Hi, this is Pastor Calvin from Christian Liberty Academy in Arlington Heights.